Hello and welcome to Full Time Score with your host, TC Ramokwase. Thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing rather, and thank you for joining us week in and week out. This is episode number 6. And of course, today's episode, only one thing can be discussed, the SOWETO Derby. There's a temptation to go for the Manchester Derby. There's not a lot to discuss there because it was an extremely one-sided affair. As Paul Scholes suggested a few weeks ago, one team has a coach, the other team has a director of sport. Simple as that. And the golfing class between the two football clubs has never been bigger. But we're going to discuss something that was a bit more tighter and definitely more closer to home, the Soweto Derby, the biggest game on South African calendar, or else South African football calendar, a game that transcends the game of football because everybody comes together to watch it. We had a nice moment with my 8-month-old niece. We watched it together. And she kind of stuck with the mantra. She fell asleep during the game. I don't blame her. Everybody does at some point, Everybody's done it. So, yeah, I forgive my niece for falling asleep during the Soweto Derby. It's normal. She's going with the tradition because it's such a boring game. But we're going to talk about it either way. So, yeah, man, we had two teams once again, Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. And I think the game in itself was a fair reflection of where either football club is at the current moment. I'll talk about Chiefs, obviously, firstly, because they're the winners. Then I'll talk about Orlando Pirates. I'll talk about the officiating. Then I'll wrap it up with something I need to say about local coaches. First of all, with the Kaizer Chiefs. What we saw on Saturday, that's Kaizer Chiefs. I was telling my father about it post-match. Like, this is what Chiefs are. And this is the best Chiefs team you're going to get in South Africa. Chiefs is no longer, especially as long as Baxter's there, Stuart Baxter's there, they are no longer a team that's going to go out, dominate the game via midfield, attack and win games, fluid attacking football. Those days are long gone at this current moment. Until a new coach comes in, it's no longer going to happen. That's not Stuart Baxter's football. Stuart Baxter's football is we're going to sit deep, allow you to dominate us, have all the position. We're going to keep it tight. We're going to make sure you play in front of us. And if you make a mistake, we're going to take the ball, we're going to put in that net there. If you give us a corner, we're going to make sure, because you've got Keegan Dolly who's good at taking set pieces, we're going to put it in. If you get a penalty, we've got Keegan Dolly who's good at set pieces and penalties. He's going to put it in. That's it. Nothing else. Now, I grew up in an era. I'm not a Chiefs fan, nor am I a Pirates fan. I'm literally just a fan of the game. I grew up in an era where Chiefs were always a free-flowing, fluid team. A team that always played the game at a certain tempo, and there was a lot of attacking, free-flowing football. Arthur Zwane, one of the assistants at Chiefs, was a great player, right wing. They had Emmanuel Skarangobeza on one of the wings. Pauline Ndlanya, one of the great strikers. Collins Mbesuma, that one season that he hit levels that we never thought we would see a striker hit. And we still yet to actually see a striker hit those levels. Undertakes midfield. We all know Dr. Kumalo's greatness. I didn't really experience it. I think I was too young. By the time I started getting the game, he was away. He was going away. But they still had a good guy called John Chusmusho who played well into his 40s. Great player. Tinashe Ngomasha was one of his defensive midfielders. They had such a good attacking, free-flowing team. You can even go back to Baxter's first stint. The team he had. Relene Tsulenyan with that midfield pairing of Relene Tsulenyan and Willard Katsande. Tsulenyan was almost as great as a footballer as anyone I've seen. They had Shaba on the right. Great players. Bernard Parker was still there. He was running and he was young, energetic, free-flowing. But those days are long gone. Because the current Chiefs team set up a 3-4-3. They put Njabulo Ngcobo not in midfield. Put him as the third centre-back. Eric Mato Cardozo, the spread wide. Njabulo Blom is the right wing-back. Rick Forsley is your left wing-back. On Saturday, Manyama played more central, deeper, more central with Nange next to him. The only time you'd see Manyama and Nange go forward is when the ball was wide with Dolly and they were trying to create the extra man run for the transitional play. That's it. On the left, you'll have Bernard Parker, left forward. Through the middle, as a forward, a central forward, CF, for FIFA players. Kama Billiard. And then on the right, right forward, you've got Keegan Dolly with his left foot has to cut inside. And that's Kaizer Chiefs in a nutshell. During that football match on Saturday, they sat deep. They made sure that Pirates with their 4-2-3-1 system don't pass through them, so meaning they have to go around them, and Pirates are not good enough to do that. And when they win the ball in transition, what do? They hit a diagonal towards Billiard. Or on the left, because Parker doesn't have the legs anymore, hits a diagonal towards Keegan Dolly. And once Keegan Dolly traps the ball, he takes on whoever's in front of him. And then you see the deep runs come through from the Nangers and the Manyamas, and also a Billiard and a Parker. Classic example is the first goal. Diagonal ball. Billiard takes on the defender, no space, plays it to Parker. Parker looks up, on rushing run, passes it to Foster. Great shot. Keeper should have saved it, but we'll give it to Foster, because we all say when you're young, kids are always told in football, hit it as hard as you can to the post, leave it to God. And that's what he did. And Bonjani let the ball in, or slapped the ball in, or whatever he did. And that's why no Kaizer Chiefs. And then goes to 1-1. They get a header, Matoho. Clinical. First pole header. Should have been defended better. Heads it, 2-1. Done. They didn't manage the game well. Brendan Peterson had to make 2-3 saves at the end of the game. But that's Baxter's team. And that's Kaizer Chiefs at this point. That's a reference of what Kaizer Chiefs are. Now, on Saturday, we have to give credit. 10 out of 10 for that performance. 10 out of 10 for those tactics, because they outplayed and they outsmarted Orlando Pirates. Orlando Pirates are a tactically inept football team. We'll talk about them. Kaizer Chiefs are a team that doesn't want to create. They don't want to play. They've got 4 creative players that I can think of. They've got 2 youngsters. Mshini Ngobo, Sabelo Khatebe. He had an assist against Baroka FC in the last minute. Saved them. Mshini Ngobo, when Baxter had COVID, he gave them a couple of man of match awards and a couple of match-winning awards. Kieran Bacchus at some point was a very good player until he got injury problems when Ernest Minidop was there, when they spectacularly fumbled the league season. Then you have a former player of the season in South African football, Leboha Manya, who's lost confidence. I don't know what's happening with Manya, but hey, man, he's there. You've got 4 creative players. None of them are really being utilized to the best of their abilities. Some of them are not even being utilized at all. So Baxter's willing to play every football match and try to win cups and try to win league titles without a creative midfielder, without being creative, without having someone to stamp his authority on the ball from a progressive standpoint in terms of going forward. He wants to win a league like that. Now, I'll go back. On Saturday, it worked like a bomb because of who they were playing. They were playing a ball-playing team. And those types of tactics of sitting deep, trying to hit them on the counter, they will definitely work against Orlando Pirates. They'll definitely, most probably work against Mamelodi Sundowns. We've seen that work. They'll probably work against these free-flowing attacking teams. Maybe a Royal AM. Okay, Royal AM got the better of them. But still, those types of teams that play a free-flowing football, defensive tactics of sitting deep and waiting for the transition, exploiting spaces, hitting a diagonal to exploit a space to isolate the defender, that will work when you play those types of teams. But when you play Baroka FC, Chippa United, TS Galaxy, teams that we expect Kaizer Chiefs to dominate, then fans are going to start complaining and everybody's going to have a problem. And rightly so, because Kaizer Chiefs cannot be a defensive team against every team. When you go and be a defensive team against Orlando Pirates or against Mamelodi Sundowns, or if you're playing in the Champions League against Al Ahly away from home, no one can complain because those are football tactics to win that particular match. But if you play like Baroka FC and you do the same thing, that's where the problem starts. And that's what Baxter is right now. Those days of fluid, nice, free-flowing football at Kaizer Chiefs, long gone. Forget about it, as long as Baxter's there. But at the same time, Baxter can easily say to people like myself who are saying, well, this is not nice. He can just show you a piece of paper that has the log written on it, and you'll see that Chiefs are number 3. They're better. They're 10 places better today, what they are today, than what they were last season. Because last season they were in number 13 for most of the season, and they end up in number 8 on the last couple of games of the season. So already he's like, we are improved. And he can also argue and say, I'm setting a foundation for next season. I'm not going to catch Sundowns this season. I know he's been saying he thinks he can catch Sundowns this season. I don't think he is. Sundowns is far gone. They may have lost on Saturday, but that was an anomaly. That's once in a lifetime game. That's a team that's lost 2 or 3 matches in 2 years. Something like that. That's crazy. So you're not going to catch up with them in one season. No way. But he can simply say, I'm building a foundation to catch up with them. And with this foundation that I'm laying this season, next season, let's go sign some players. And if he does sign players, I would then say to him, get rid of Nokovic, get rid of Castro, cut your losses. Honestly, it's not working out. Get a striker that supports you. Now, I don't know which striker in the PSL they can get, because I've watched Ashley Dupree. I like him. I love him. I've watched Victor Zwang. I like him. Love him. I don't know if they fit what Chiefs want to do. That's the only concern. Nowadays, we've got access to CAF Champions League. We've got access to CAF Confederations Cup. Maybe the Chief scouts can watch that and go look on the continent for a better player, for a striker, or they've got the connections, they've got the money. Go to Europe or South America. Look for a striker that you can bring in to come help you. That's the side. Chiefs need a striker. That's, for me, it's priority number one. Number two, since he's got 4 creative players that I've mentioned that he doesn't believe in, go get them. Go buy another creative midfielder then. So that this bypassing of midfield and diagonal balls and long ball stuff can stop. Yes, it's working now, but it's not going to win you league titles. I can guarantee Kaizer Chiefs will not win a league title playing like that. No way. They need to change it next season, not now. This season, just about getting themselves respectable position, which will be, in my opinion, if they can qualify for the CAF Champions League, that would be fantastic for them. That means they have to come number 2. Unless Sundowns win the CAF Champions League, that means another team will be added as a reward to South Africa. The last time they did that, I don't know if they still do it, but I remember the last time they made 3 teams go. The number 1 team, number 2, and number 3 team. So if they can finish number 3, Sundowns maybe win the league, the Champions League, then they can go. Either way, qualifications for Champions League for Kaizer Chiefs, imperative. Once he's done that, he can go to management and ask for, and for me, a striker and a creative midfielder. I believe Bongani Zungu might end up at Chiefs. There've been rumors about him, but with Chiefs, there's always rumor about every player that can kick a ball. They never sign anyone, ultimately. And then they complain about this or that. So, with that said, I'd say so far so good, but that's what Chiefs are. And we're not going to get any more from that. Is it good enough to win the league? No. Good enough to beat Pirates? Yes, on a good day. Good enough to beat Sundowns? Most probably, yes, on a good day. But when you do this against Baroka, Morocco Swallows, TX, Galaxy, no respect to those, no disrespect to those teams, it's not nice to watch. And I don't think Kaizer Chiefs fans want to subscribe to that. They want to see their team dominate games and win games, but wins games smartly. You can't play the same thing every week. It's not right. Now moving on to Pirates. Again, with Orlando Pirates, it's a game where I think Pirates are good at shooting themselves in the foot. They shot themselves in the foot because they were playing against a team that decided they're going to sit back and wait for the counter. All right, we all saw that. We all know that's what Chiefs have done the whole year. They're going to keep doing it again. So why then go for a 4-2-3-1 system, where you've basically got the back 4. In the middle, initially they've got Ben Mutswari, Thaba Monare, then they've got Kabelo Dlamini playing as a 10, and then they've got Pepra, Loch on the right, Wide left, then Hoto. I get it. One of these guys it was not always the case that the 2 anchors were sitting. One of the anchors would go forward and maybe try and play what they call a double 10 with Kabelo Dlamini, which was probably most times Thaba Monare, who was trying to play with him so that he can look for the passes, which was okay. It didn't really work because Chiefs had really congested that midfield and made sure that there's literally no space for either Kabelo Dlamini or Monare. So most of the wide play, you could see, most of the play was shifted wide, right? And then you could see maybe even Mutswari sometimes would pitch up in a wide position. Pirates were not tactically adapted to that system. Now, I saw at halftime something, I was like, huh? Why are they doing that? They took out Ben Mutswari and put Abel Mabas. Okay, that's okay, Mabas plays there. But I didn't really see the use for that. I would have said, Ben must stick, take Monare out, or Thaba must come and stick, which is Monare, and then take out either Ben, and then throw in Lindam Tambo, aka Figo. 1, goal scoring record, good scoring midfield. Number 2, he's more of a progressive passer, more creative than either Monare or Mutswari or Mabas. He's a lot more creative than him. I don't understand why they didn't do that move. I would have done that move. Also, I would have hooked Kabelo Dlamini long ago and probably played Terence Jugamanja a lot earlier. Yes, he may be a striker, but I think for the 10 position, I would have probably played him there. Or I would have gone for a flat 4-4-2 with Pepper and Jugamanja up front. Then you've got Loch on the right, Hoto on the left. Then you've got obviously your 2 middle fielders there. Then you would say to one of them, stick. The other one, go forward, play like that. Basically, don't play flat out, but play in front of each other like that. Try and supply, which in this case would have been Lindam Tambo. Try and supply the balls to those two guys up there or to the wide lefts. Let's try and spread the game a bit. Tactically inept. I don't I don't coach football. I'm never gonna coach football. But I could see that sitting in Valcom, watching the game with my 8-month-old niece. Watching the game, I could see that Pirates needed a tactical change. But the coaches didn't even apply it. They made weird changes, late changes. I think the coaches shot themselves in the foot. But equally, we need to also talk about the players. Football players need to remember something. The game's about the players. I haven't seen a player grab a derby by the scruff of the neck for a very, very long time. Very, very long time. I have not seen a football player grab a football match, Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates, by the scruff of the neck. During the lockdown, I saw a retro game where Jerry's Kosana was absolutely fantastic. So all the games where, Dr. Kumar was out of this world. We've seen games in the past. Duguma Kanya, those dudes used to grab games by the scruff of the neck, these types of games. There would be a crowd, not anymore for some other reason, but there would be a crowd and there would be the buzz and the fever of what's a derby. And one of the players would decide, let me have a standout performance for the fan. We don't see that anymore. Even when there were fans in the stadium, we haven't seen that anymore. And from Pirates' perspective, they needed Lodge, they needed Pepra, they needed Hoto, they needed Kabalo Dlamini to step up. None of them did. As much as I can say the coaches tactically got it flawed, as always. These coaches have, for me, the Pirates coaches have not got anything right so far this season. But none of the players also stepped up on that Saturday. You had all the ball position, yet you still had less shots on target. Your creativity was not there. What direction is the football club going? And I'm saying this with a frustrated voice because I was watching the game, and as I said, my niece fell asleep. I don't want to fall asleep because I knew I had to do a video on it. But I was like, this is so boring. It's boring. One team is doing one thing, the other team is doing the opposite. And it's just, it's not high level football. It's not the showpiece spectacle that it's built up to be for the week before the derby. I was watching the news the night before and there was a good lady analyzing the game and all this, but when you go watch the game, it's not worth the fever. It doesn't live up to the expectations. And that's why one of the reasons I was like, this is just okay. And I still question the Pirates coaches because, as I said, they've not got anything right. Players from both sides of the camp, none of them really grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. I think the Orlando Pirates players are more disappointed because tactically they have more freedom than the Kaizer Chiefs players because the Kaizer Chiefs coach doesn't want his players to do anything except defend. But with this side, they've got more freedom. So I was very disappointed when Lodge and these guys did not step up. Equally, the coaches as well. They need to be questioned. But also, management needs to be questioned. What's happening with Gabadino Mahango? This game was crying out for Mahango in a 4-4-2 system. Or even hook this Pepra guy. I'm not sure what the obsession with Pepra is. I would have hooked him, put in Gabadino Mahango. He wasn't even on the bench. I heard now or read on an article before I did the video that he has discipline problems, professionalism. Now he's out. But even before all that, he wasn't playing. It's not like he was playing and he started having issues. He wasn't playing first half of the season. Then I think he had an injury or something. Then there was an issue with him at a club. Then he goes to AFCON. And he shines at AFCON. He comes back. Then his coaches say, one of the most ridiculous statements I've ever read, and I read a lot of ridiculous stuff, that AFCON or PSL rather, is bigger than AFCON. So then technically what he's saying is, doesn't mean because he scored at AFCON and was shining for Malawi that he's going to shine for us. We have a bigger and a tougher league than that nonsense. That's basically what he said. And that was such a wrong thing to say. No professional coach should actually think an international tournament is bigger than a local league, especially this league. No. But that's Pirates coach. That's what the Pirates coach said. So I would imagine that whatever happens going forward, Orlando Pirates need to swallow their pride. Mahango needs to swallow their pride. They need to sort out their differences. And Mahango needs to be back to full play. And then that will give Pirates a better chance of finishing in the top 2 or top 3. Because without Mahango, they're not going to score. As I said, the obsession with Pepper needs to stop. He's just not there yet. Maybe next season. I would rather play someone else ahead of Pepper right now because I'm not sure what's happening. But because he's a big name profile signing from Ghana, someone upstairs will pull the strings to keep getting him in the team week in and week out. And he's not the only one. Certain players seem to be done. are being given opportunities that they don't necessarily deserve. Pepra is one of them, in my opinion. Also, the goalkeeping situation around the Pirates. Since the unfortunate passing of the late Senzo, the captain of the club, and Bafana Bafana at the time when he was passing, the club has failed to replace him. The club has failed to get a goalkeeper. I don't do videos to take shots at players or coaches. I don't do that. But the football club needs a goalkeeper, a replacement goalkeeper for a long term. And that's always going to be a problem. It's either going to have to find some young guy who's really decent, throw him in and keep him there, or I've said that before, or they've just got to have to go buy someone who's really, really established. Cunha doesn't seem to be playing. I would go for Cunha at Kaizer Chiefs. He's not playing. He's still class. I would go for him, at least for a couple of seasons until I can find a proper replacement, if there is one. Because the goalkeeping factor at Orlando Pirates is a problem. It's a problem. We can't deny it. It's one of the many problems the club currently have. And it needs to be sorted. If you want to win league titles and cups and you want to be the best team in the world or in Africa, you need to be thorough from how you prepare for football matches, or how you have a team, on the structure of the field, and what you set your team up to do every week. If you're not thorough in those departments, you're not going to win anything. And that's where Kaizer Chiefs are. They're not thorough off the field, not good signings, poor signings, no real structure, just a lot of loose stuff, and looking to do quick fixes to fix a problem that's been happening for long. Same as Orlando Pirates, no real structure off the field. On the field, no structure, too many politics with players and technical directors and coaches and this and that. No off-field structure. On the field, no structure, no plan, no philosophy of thinking how we're going to attract players and transferring players. They just buy players, then they don't use them. They buy players in bulk, then they don't fit the system, they get benched. There's a lot of stuff there that needs to be really, really, really just ironed out, both sides. And as I said, SOWETO Derby is a reflection of what both teams are currently. Now, I want to address a couple of things before I end the video. Number one, I want to say I'm a big fan of local coaches. I want to see more local coaches. And I love the fact that Orlando Pirates have gone for Mandla, who earned it because he did well at Golden Arrows. Also, Fadlu Davids did very well at Maritzburg United before he got this job. But I'm disappointed in them. And they're not the only one. I looked at Khuloko Tovejani's Baroque. I know they won over the weekend, but I've watched more than one game. And generally, local coaches, South African coaches, we don't see them prepare for games tactically. It's like they just train and then they go to the game. They have a mindset, we're going to go play this way and we're going to play. I always thought, it's like when I was a student, it's arbitrary really to study for an exam. I mean, it's really arbitrary. If you don't study for an exam, you don't pass. If you don't prepare for an exam, you don't pass. And if you don't pass, you don't go to the next level of your studies and you won't eventually graduate. Same thing in football. I reflected in football by saying it's arbitrary to watch videos of your opponents. Look at their strengths, look at their weaknesses, compare what you have and how you can counter it with what you have. Sundowns do that. Royal AM seem to do that. Amazulu do that extremely well. Kaizer Chiefs do it to a certain degree. But other teams, if we're speaking local coaches, they don't do that. Orlando Pirates were not prepared for Saturday. They didn't watch videos of Kaizer Chiefs. They may say they did, but if they did, they certainly didn't apply what they saw. And I'm not a coach, and I can see that. Similar to how Khuloko Tovejana's Baroque FC play the same way every week, and they're fighting relegation. Whether they're playing Sundowns or they're playing another team, they're going to play the same style of football. TS Galaxy, another one. But they're not coached by a local guy, but it's the same thing every week. So when local coaches, for me, look tactically inept, I get concerned about the future of football in the country, because if our local coaches are not good, who the hell is going to coach us? Who's going to coach our future? We've got 3 local coaches at Sundowns doing quite well. We've got another local coach. He's not South African, but I'll call him a local coach. John Maduka is doing quite well. Lehlono at Golden Arrows, a bit Jekyll and Hyde, but doing quite well. He was doing well at Celtics before the money issues. You've got a few who look like they're doing well, and you can see the difference between a team that actually watch videos of their opponents and how they play and what they're doing. And if they, for example, if they attack one side, they attack one side, the left side, for example, you can see that there's something that they picked up there throughout video watch. But Some of the teams, I don't think they watch the coaches. They don't watch football. They don't watch either their opponent. They watch football. They watch their opponents. Maybe they watch English Premier League. I don't know. And it's not good enough. Officiating, another poor weekend of officiating. Sundowns game, absolute disaster with officiating. SOWETO Derby, I thought Pepra's goal was offside. Dolly ran around the keeper and scored offside, which was actually onside. People say we need VAR. I don't think VAR will solve it. VAR is controversial. We've seen it week in and week out. It's very controversial in England and all the other countries it's used, but we may need it. But also, how about this? Why don't you professionalize referees? Everyone in football is a professional. Coaches, players, everything. Medical team, technical teams, professionals. The only non-professionals in there is referees. Our referees are semi-pros or what they call amateurs. So they have other jobs. Like now it's Monday. Most of our refs are working their normal day jobs, policemen, teachers, whatever. And then when it's match day, they go into the match. But if they were professionals and what they do was refereeing and they got a good amount of money and they were paid well for it, then they would sit down every single weekend or every single day and study refereeing. Study techniques if you have to, apply, get your fitness right, be a ref. But now we've got semi-professional refs in a professional league, and that's the result you're going to get week in and week out. You're going to see those offsides. You're going to see those weird red cards. You're going to see those weird penalties. Not good enough for a league that claims to be the best league in African football. Not enough. Lastly, to the fans that went out and protest, I hope you guys get what you want because we all want to go back to the stadiums. There is no scientific reason to deny you access to stadiums. People are getting vaccinated. People are getting called up for their third doses of vaccination. So where's the logic in saying you must stay at home and not come to stadiums because you might infect others? Yes, the virus is still out there. Virus is still active. We still need to wear our masks and sanitize our hands and keep our social distance. Yes. But if people are getting vaccinated, why not allow them with masks into the stadium? Fine. If you're scared of numbers, why don't you just allow 50% capacity? There's no science in denying football supporters access to stadiums. There is no science anymore. And those supporters, I don't support violence or looting or whatever. There was none of that, by the way, but I'm just mentioning it. What I'm saying is, those supporters who did that did it for a reason, and they were right. The notion that supporters are daft in this country needs to stop. Football supporters are smart people. They can see what's wrong at Chiefs. Even though they'll be happy when Chiefs win, they can see what's happening in Orlando Pirates with management, coaches, and players, and the influences and the involvements of people who sit in offices. They're not daft. And we can also tell that the coronavirus is under control. People have gone to get vaccinated as the president has continually requested. But now, why have we not been allowed back at stadiums? I'd really love a proper scientific answer. A proper scientific answer. I don't want to hear about it's still in process. These political answers don't work. We need scientific evidence to support whatever it is that they claim is the reason why we're not there. It's Full Time Score, episode 6, over and out with your boy, TC Ramkhwas. Thanks for watching.